So we're good?
Okay. Special meeting first, right? Okay. Thank you all for being here today. The March 26, 2019 special meeting of the Hawthorne City Council is called to order with all members present. We will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance for this first part, we're going to the second part, by Robert Smith. No, the other one's the main meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you face the flag, place your hand over your heart and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is a special meeting. It's basically overlapping the timing for the regular meeting. So if anybody out there is wondering, and once we finish these items, we're going to jump on board with the regular meeting. Mr. Clerk, please read the guidelines for our communications.
Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.3, the public shall directly address the legislative body concerning items that have been described in the notice of special meeting.
Okay. Anybody wishing to say anything? If not, at this time, I'd like to call Neil Gaffney, Mr. Neil Gaffney, to come up to the podium for presentation. What, do we have it? Where is it?
Oh, Kyle.
Kyle Orleman, Commissioner from the Veterans Commission.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, city staff, and neighbors. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to appear before you tonight and to honor someone I've known for quite a while and have always admired for the work that he's done for our city. So I would like to ask Robert Smith to please join me up here while I read the proclamation. Be it known to all assembled here and others who behold these presents that formal expression has been made, as evidenced by this document, a proclamation honoring Robert E. Smith. The City of Hawthorne awards the Veteran of the Quarter recognition to Robert E. Smith for his community involvement and military achievements. And whereas Mr. Smith has served with distinction in the United States Air Force from 1955 until his discharge as a tech sergeant in 1969, during his 14-year career, he served in a variety of positions and duty stations, including assignments in Texas, Oklahoma, Japan, and Korea, retiring from Edwards Air Force Base in California. And whereas Mr. Smith was a jet aircraft mechanic, then a crew chief on a renowned T-33 pilot training aircraft before moving to a planning and scheduling maintenance position, Robert was recognized for his service and was bestowed with the Air Force Longevity Award, Good Conduct Medal, and National Defense Service Medal. And whereas he has been a resident of Hawthorne for more than 80 years, and was a member of the Hawthorne High School's first graduating class in 1954. After his 1969 discharge, he began his business career in the savings and loan industry, and after 22 years began his own business as a provider of management and business services, and is celebrating their 29th anniversary. And whereas his civic commitments across a dozen community groups include leadership roles in the Westchester Chamber of Commerce, Rotary Club, and for the past 17 years, he has served as a planning commissioner for the City of Hawthorne and is currently the Planning Commission Chair. And now, therefore, the Hawthorne City Council does formally join with the Veterans Affairs Commission, family, and friends in celebration of his recognition and to pay tribute to his years of dedication, achievement, community, civic, and military service in the City of Hawthorne, proclaimed this 26th day of March, 2019.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Veterans Affairs Commission mug for you,
Thank
and
you.
a Veterans Affairs Commission keychain
Thank you.
with our information on the back.
All right. Thank you very
There
much.
you go. Thank you so
Okay.
much for your service to our community. Oh, that's
Wanna say
right,
something?
absolutely. There's a marked parking space in the parking lot that is now yours to use if it's available.
Oh, it will be available.
Okay.
Turn on your mic, please.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to say something because I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Smith for several years on the Planning Commission. Thank you for all of your service to the city of Hawthorne and to your service to the U.S. Air Force. It was always a pleasure working with you. I found you to be fair, thorough, always dedicated to what you were doing, and even-tempered, and just a great planning commissioner. So it was really a pleasure to work with you. And you are very deserving of this award, and we're very proud of you as a Hawthorne citizen.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Mr. Smith, congratulations.
Thank you.
80 in Hawthorne, that's a tremendous achievement. And your accomplishment at the U.S. Air Force is tremendous. So we should be getting a lot of lessons from you. So I hope you can have like a book or memoir about those Hawthorne, because I think you have a lot of things to tell us. And I hope you will.
Thank
So
you.
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Chair,
Yes.
I also want to say I spent 5-6 years sitting right next to Commissioner Smith over there on the Planning Commission. It was one of the most enjoyable times that I spent here in the city. And it was really a pleasure working with you. So I really appreciate you, and I'm glad to see that you're still, now you took over my job.
That I did.
You know, thanks for everything.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Through the chair, I also want to congratulate you and thank you for your service. It's wonderful to see you still here and strong and leading our planning commission. Hopefully you do, you know, and you'll lead it well after Mike left and do a better job than Mike. We love you, Mike.
No, it's okay.
But no, I've seen you work on the planning commission. I've seen how you've interacted with the other commissioners, especially with Mike, and you guys always had a wonderful relationship. So I'd love to see that continue. And again, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really great planning commission.
Thank you, sir, for your service. I've known you since I started, you know, on the city council, and I think I was on the Civil Service Commission when we bumped into each other. When we swapped meetings, we would finish, and then you guys would come on board. So you've lived in the same area, I think the same complex, the same apartment complex or building for a long time. So that's very impressive, and you are committed to the city of Hawthorne, so much so that you frequent our local businesses, including Chips. So I've run into you more than one time. So you've lived in Hawthorne, you've bought in Hawthorne, you've eaten in Hawthorne, and it looks like you're going to stay in Hawthorne, right? So congratulations on your service, sir.
Appreciate it.
They didn't come up in time, so we'll do that a little bit later. Take some pictures, okay? Once the camera comes up. So, Kyle Orleman, State of the Veterans Commission, please.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I have had the pleasure of leading the Veterans Affairs Commission for the past year, coming up the end of this month, and it's been quite a ride. Filling Colonel Gaffney's shoes has been quite a large order, but I have a terrific commission working with me, and I would like to thank you for providing us with the opportunity to be of service to the veterans in our city. I would also like to ask my fellow commissioners to stand up right now and be introduced, and I think I do that. All right, Ken Lester, Commissioner Carol Steinhauer, Commissioner Annabella Moreno, and Commissioner Jim Robillata. And I have to say, I could not do it without their support. Commissioner Robillata is the one who put this PowerPoint presentation together. I've never done one, so we'll see if I push the right buttons or if I don't. So, okay, you have appointed us to act basically as an advisory board and to keep the city council and the residents in this area apprised of what is going on in the local area, in the larger area, and in the county and national arena as well. having to do with Veterans Affairs. And so we act a little bit differently than some of the other commissions do in that we work here within the city on veterans issues, but we also have to get the information from the wider areas and the other groups at those different levels so that we are able to provide the information both to you about upcoming legislation that you might want to support or oppose, and also to be sure that the veterans who are in our communities and their families have an understanding of what is going on legislatively and what is going on in terms of construction and healthcare and things like that that affect the veterans in our community. And there's quite a lot going on right now. So being that we have a fairly short time available, I'm going to whip through this as quickly as I am able to. And you have the presentation in front of you in case you want to ask any questions after this. So basically, among the things that we do here locally, as you just saw, we have a Veteran of the Quarter program where we designate local residents who have been veterans in our community, and we try to acknowledge what they have committed in terms of volunteer time and other community service to our community, in addition to what they did while they were serving in the military. A lot of the veterans I have found are very humble and won't tell you about the years that they put in serving our country. And this is one way that we as a community can acknowledge those who have lived among us for 80+ years and our other friends and neighbors that we see on a daily basis, and we have no idea of what their background was before they came here and started serving this community. So I think that that's a very important opportunity, and I'm so glad that you have come up with that idea, Mr. Mayor, and we've been able to implement that for you. One other thing that we did last year that involved our local veteran families, and I think this is very important. There is a memorial up in Sacramento right next to the State House that lists the names of all of the California veterans who were KIA during the Vietnam War, excuse me. And the names are arranged on that monument in order of the cities where they come from, so you can go up there and you can look up the Hawthorne names. And we had 19 Hawthorne residents who were KIA during the Vietnam conflict, and their names are on that wall. So this past October, there was a 30th anniversary celebration of that memorial, and we were able to go up there and represent the city at that dedication. And since the city colors are kind of the yellow and blue, we came as close to that as we could. So we took a basket of yellow flowers in a blue bag, and we added 19 red roses, one for each of our veterans and our residents here in the city who did not return from Vietnam. That proclamation that you put together and that we had framed and took up there is now hanging on the wall in the CalVets office. We were the only city that made a separate presentation of such a memorial to our residents. So thank you for your support on that. One of the other things that we serve as here with our commission is a communications portal. Our job is to connect the veterans in our community and in the wider area with the other agencies and organizations that are best able to serve their needs. So that involves putting them in a liaison position with the Veterans Administration, Veteran Service Organizations, which are called VSOs. We also work with city and county agencies. We have a webpage on the city's website where we post updated information when we go to the different meetings that we attend, and we find out about other services that are being made available, and that goes kind of across the board. We put it up on our city website, so I invite our citizens who want to check out what might be veteran-centered to go to the city website and check out the Veterans Affairs Commission portal. And we have new information being added to that every day. I would like to thank the IT department for making sure that when we bring in the flyers, they get that up immediately with the most current information, and there'll be a lot more coming over the next few days. We have also added a Facebook page recently, which we're in the process of getting up and running, so it's a little bit behind the scenes, but we're getting there on that one and working on it. Okay, and then talking about the other veteran support organizations that we work with. Dealing with veterans issues is not a simple thing, and it's kind of alphabet soup. There are so many different organizations from the federal level to the state level to the county level to the city level and right here within our area. In addition to all of the national organizations that would include groups like Disabled American Veterans, the VFW, American Legion, Vietnam Veterans of America, and numerous other ones. And so we have representation on our commission with members of many of those other organizations. So when our members go to those organization meetings and they get additional information about what those organizations are doing, and that may include information about bills that are pending right now and whether we should support it or oppose it. It also gets into some very simple local things. Right now, there's a movement that is being discussed about changing the name of the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. That was named many, many, many decades ago as a tribute to the veterans here, or actually those who served in World War I. And there is some discussion going on right now that you'll hear about a little bit later during public comment, to perhaps change the name of that memorial to reflect the sponsoring organization. You may want to become aware of that, as you will be with the other comments that will be made later, and you may want to show up at a meeting on Thursday with that commission to discuss that. So there'll be more information on that. If anyone in the community wants to get involved, please contact us and we'll hook you up with that. Also, there is a lot of organization here between us and the Los Angeles Air Force Base because of our proximity to that facility. And we have I believe we were the first city to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Los Angeles Air Force Base in order to coordinate housing needs for the people who are working on the base and get more of those folks into our community. And hopefully when they retire from the military, they'll decide that Hawthorne is a great place to live and join us here, perhaps end up on our commission at some point or another. We also attend when they do basically a transition assistance program over there, where they're taking the people who are active duty right now and they are putting them in line with these other organizations so that they can make the transition most easily from active duty to being a veteran, and find out again that this community has the support that they are going to need to welcome them back to the civilian side of the world. So we have attended those meetings as well and are working with those organizations, and they will be hopefully attending many of the functions that we have here in the city, including our Benefits Day that I'll get to a little bit later. There are a number of other organizations as well. The LA County Department of Mental Health is involved in a very large initiative right now, and they are the ones that are administering a lot of the Measure HHH funds that we all voted for. And a great deal of that funding is being used to help solve the homeless veteran issue. And so they are working as part of a collaborative effort with the Greater Los Angeles healthcare system on the master plan, which you've heard me speak about, for redoing the entire 388-acre Los Angeles West LA VA Medical Center. And I'll get to that in a few minutes. But we are working directly with the liaisons and the head of the Department of Mental Health for LA County to facilitate those efforts. They are also in the process of establishing a new group. It's in the formative stages right now, and it's very exciting. It's going to be the Veteran Peer Access Network, and it will also be run out of LA County. We know the director who is putting the whole thing together, and those will be trained positions that will lead to employment for veterans to become peer access support for each other. And that won't only be for the veterans, that will also include the family members, and we will be doing outreach to the community. Any of the entities here who want to get involved in helping with that project, of course, we will get them involved at that end of things. Then, you mentioned the photograph that's on that particular slide. There are also a number of major organizations that are overseeing all of these different entities, because there are so many, it's almost impossible to keep track of everything. So there is a federal oversight board that is directly responsible and reports to the Secretary of Veterans Affairs and to Congress, and they meet here in Los Angeles 4 times a year. So that meeting is going to be coming up again in April. We attend those meetings and we bring the concerns of the veterans here in our community to those meetings. We directly testify to the Federal Oversight Board. They take the testimony that we give and they put it into their planning on what they're doing for everything on the federal level that will be implemented up at the West LA VA hospital and the facilities up there. And again, there's millions of dollars involved, so since we're sitting in on these meetings, we get to see where the oversight is and how things are being managed. Right now, it's in an environmental impact stage, and there will be a lot more that will be coming when I get a little further into the presentation. There are some other groups that are also involved in this. Los Angeles County has a military veterans affairs group. They open a number of veteran county service offices, and they have them in a number of different areas. We've been talking to them about potentially, when they add another one of these offices, bringing it to Hawthorne. Because the interesting thing about this is with all of these meetings that we attend, and there are state people there and federal people there and county people there and City of Los Angeles people, we are the only city that has representation at any of these meetings. And so the people on all of those different levels have understood now that when Hawthorne says that we are committed to supporting the military and the veterans in our community, they call us. We have been asked to come in and brief staff for some of the Congress people outside of our own area in addition, because they consider us to be subject matter experts in a couple of specific areas. And so when they're talking about future legislation, they come to us and say, what do we do about this? Have we covered everything? What would be your wish list? And when we go to them and say, we have an idea and can you implement it, they have the ability to finance those projects and get those things going. So it's been very mutually efficient for all of us. The Veterans Service Offices with the county provide a number of different services to the people in our community. In terms of just the county service officers, and that's not counting the ones that are from the different veteran service organizations, in 2017, which is the most recent figures I have, they generated over $294 million in new benefits for residents in our area. They also do liaison work with the Department of Health Administration, the Veterans Health Administration, Veterans Benefits Organization, and the National Cemetery Administration, which we also do work with. And there is comprehensive services involved there for claims and compensation, life insurance, record requests, discharge upgrades, which is an important issue because many people that had perhaps less than honorable discharges in the past because of PTSD-related issues and didn't get the help that they need can now get assistance to get their discharge upgraded, in which case they would be eligible for benefits that they are now excluded from. There's also information on college fee waivers and veterans designation on license places. So those are some of the services that they provide that we can also get our residents directly in touch with the people who run those programs with. LA County also has a Veterans Advisory Commission. We attend those meetings on a monthly basis. Each one of the county supervisors has two designated officers on that board. The ones for the 2nd District, which include us, are Patricia Jackson Kelly, who is the current chair of that organization, and a new commissioner, Dennis Tucker. So again, we get the information about what LA County is doing and their Veterans Commission, and we bring them the information about what is needed in this community. And one of the areas that has been very helpful is that they have outreach meetings in different communities since they cover all of LA County. And because they know that Hawthorne is so tremendously involved in veterans issues, they have scheduled their local meeting on May 8th here for the city of Hawthorne, and that will be held in our Memorial Center. So that will be the County Veterans Advisory Commission.
Ms. Orleman, we're going to have to ask you to abbreviate the rest of the meeting only because the limitations on presentations are 10, and we do need to start the regular meeting. So, yeah, and I feel bad saying that because there's a lot of excellent information, and it's, I mean, you know.
Perfectly okay, and you can see it at the website. So the last thing that I want to cover very, very, very quickly is the West Los Angeles Medical Center and what's being done up there. One of the reasons that I'm particularly excited about it is that we have a very large Hawthorne connection to this. After the 388 acres was mandated to be master planned basically from the ground up on this, and it has a federal oversight committee that is overseeing that, they did a national search for who would be basically the master developer of that entire thing. And the person who was selected from that happens to be our local resident, Brian DeAndrea, who is the head of an organization called Century Housing. So he put together a team along with U.S. Vets and with Thomas Saffron Associates, and they are in the process of doing the master plan for the whole thing. The reason that's so exciting for us is that there will be 1,700 units of permanent supported housing built on that property. Our tax dollars are paying for that. Some of these community organizations are coming up with money as well. And that means the veterans who are in our community will have absolute state-of-the-art care. We're taking care of the homeless veterans and getting them off of the street. And with the completion of the green line here and the purple line up at that area, our local people will be able to get on the green line right here and end up being dropped off at the VA hospital and helping to unclog our freeways. Also active in the Patient Advisory Council there, so if anybody has a specific medical question about that facility, we can get them to the right people. Last couple of things very quickly. So this I've pretty much covered in what we're doing in coordinating donations and supporting other community events. The photograph on the bottom here is the Memorial Day observance that's run by the VFW and the American Legion here. And this is going to be the master plan, the photograph on the right of what will be happening with the conceptual rendering with the construction that will be happening at West LA. The picture on the left is being funded by LA County, and that is part of our Measure H funding, and that will be transitional housing that's being put up almost immediately. It's under construction as we speak. And then the last thing basically is that we are doing our 4th annual Hawthorne Veterans Day, our benefits Affair Day, and we will be having this at the Hawthorne Memorial Center. It'll be on April 13th, which will be coming up. We have a number of major presentations that are going to be made on that day, and if you will get a flyer out on the front or else contact the website and be able to get the information, please do register with Commissioner Moreno, who is running basically the keeping tally of how many people that we're having coming. We'll have a number of presentations from all of these different entities. We invite the community, not only the veterans, but their family members and people who care about them to come, find out what's available to you, and contact us if we can help in any way with that. So we will have a number of guest speakers. There will also be a number of veteran vendors who you can talk to about different benefits that are available, and we will have a number of service officers there to help directly with claims. There will also be lunch provided by In-N-Out for the veterans that are attending, and refreshments are being provided by the Los Angeles Air Force Base Commissary. And last but not least, if you have any questions, go for it.
Okay, we're going to have the questions asked offline. The only reason because we need to get the regular meeting going. There's going to be 5 minutes that we have to wait. So all the residents that are watching, you want to say something? Okay, I'll give you an opportunity to say something, but go ahead, just say what you need to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Alderman. I want to personally thank you for this great presentation, for your activism in bringing our interests and our the needs of our veterans into the larger community and bringing that information back to our community about what our veterans can do to make their lives better and the benefits that are available to them. Your commission is dynamite. It has always been dynamite. And I just applaud you because you're just, you people are always on the ball. So thank you so much for all your service.
And I also want to congratulate you also. You've taken the Veterans Commission here and elevated above like all the local Veterans Commissions. I don't even think some cities have a Veterans Commission, to be honest with you.
Correct.
So they don't. And, you know, so that's a great thing you're doing here for this for the Hawthorne residents who are veterans and from the local veterans that are in the surrounding areas. So I think you've elevated the issues that are, I mean, because remember, the government doesn't always take care of its veterans, so you have to always push back and make notice that there's an issue here so that the government starts responding, and you're activists. So each one of the 5 of you is an activist in that role, bringing those things to the government's attention. And the VA redevelopment of its land right there into its ultimate purpose is going to be great, and I thank you. You talked to me, you asked me to help you out with some stuff, run some ideas by me, so we're in full support of anything that the VA would like to do. We've even contemplated them having come into some of our empty spaces here, but unfortunately some of those developers haven't taken So I commend you for that effort and everything else. Are we good? Okay, thank you so much. Can you tell us where you're going to place this? Because I know the last part was abbreviated, so we could start a regular meeting. Where is this going to be located online so that we could, so the residents can find it?
The city website.
Okay.
And there's a Veterans Affairs tab there.
Under the Veterans Affairs tab on the City of Hawthorne's website, cityofhawthorne.org, folks, okay?
Also believe it's on the street sign billboards, and we've had flyers out in front, and we'll have more as we get closer to the event. So we'll let you know. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. So, for all the benefit of all those watching right now, there's going to be 5 minutes of delay. We're going to break for 5 minutes while the cable group basically sets up the tape for the next meeting that we have, the digital tape. So we're going to have 5 minutes of break. So right now is a good opportunity when we're offline for anybody to ask her any questions about the presentation. Okay, folks? 5 minutes. We're going to come back online.